Hey there, and welcome to Geopolitics 411. Busy week across the continent, and a lot is going on. Number one, why would you keep a human being alive in the fridge simply because you're not happy with how they are behaving on their riots? That's the confession by Uganda's President, Yoweri Museveni. So President Museveni had kept two Kenyans, activists, who were arrested in his country about 38 days. And he came out confessing that they were kept in a fridge simply because the two men are experts in riots who had been put in the fridge for some days. Confession from a president. Now, Yoweri Museveni acknowledged that the two Kenyan activists, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyoo, who had been reported missing for about 38 days, that they had been arrested in his country for 5 weeks, and it is his government that had arrested them. Now, something very interesting, the head of the military in Uganda confessed a few days before, or is it weeks, that he was not aware of any arrests of Kenyans in Uganda, and he was not aware that they were in any police cell or under any police arrest.
I don't have any information to the effect that they are in police custody, nor do I have any information that they are accused by police. If I had it, I would volunteer it here without any reservations.
Then the president, in a live interview on Saturday evening, comes and describes the two men as experts in riots who had been put in the fridge for some days, simply because they were supporting his opponent in the upcoming elections, that is Bobi Wine.
Like, for instance, we have got two Kenyans whom we arrested. They have been with us. I have their names, but I don't remember their names. They came. They were working with Chagulanyi's group, that they are experts in riots.
So Museveni blamed foreign groups for stoking up trouble and adding that the ones who are doing that game here in Uganda will end up badly. And everyone is raising questions what this means for anyone going to Uganda. Also, out of looking at us, East Africa as a bloc and the unity that is runs across Africa, now it's becoming more scary for anyone to go support a candidate outside their own country, because when you leave your country, you're not sure if you will survive or you will come back alive. So Museveni, during the presser, avoided naming the two or mentioning the names of Bob and Nicholas, but he confirmed that the two Kenyan activists were released after he received calls from some Kenyan leaders who said they should be handed back. He did not mention which leaders, but from the statement that came from the Kenya Human Rights Commission, Vocal Africa, and everyone that was following up on this story, it is said that the Foreign Affairs Ministry, both in Kenya and Uganda, and the former President Uhuru Kenyatta were involved in this, in their release. So for us as Kenyans, we appreciate that we have our citizens back home safe and sound, but it's also a question of, why would you arrest someone because they're supporting an opponent and there's nothing bad or unconstitutional about it, and still arrest them and take them to jail and never produce them in court? That is already unconstitutional. So previously, Ugandan authorities had denied that knowledge, of course, that no Kenyan, they were not aware, but eyewitnesses had reported that they had seen Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyoo being forced into a car by masked men, and the masked men were actually in Ugandan police uniform, and they were arrested coming out from a rally where Bobi Wine was having, doing his political campaign. So the president who's been in power, President Museveni, has been in power for 39 years, since 1986. He's actually running for another term in office, and he doesn't, from experience, he doesn't like opposition. And anyone who supports the opposition or any critic who goes against him, of course, you become a targeted enemy. And so that's the issue about Uganda. So opposition leader Bobi Wine, who's running against Museveni for the presidency in January's election, the election's actually on January 15th, has accused the Ugandan government of targeting the two Kenyans for associating with him, and he wasn't happy about it, and that they had been held incommunicado for 38 days. That was really traumatizing, even from what the activists are talking about. So last year, another Ugandan opposition figure who's been the main key opposition leader, Kizza Besigye, was also abducted in Nairobi, only to surface 4 days later in a military court in Uganda, where he faces treason charges. And this has been since October last year to date. We are now in November 2025, and still the case is ongoing, and he faces treason charges. Quite unfortunate that these abductions have sparked widespread condemnation and concerns that East African governments are actually doing collaborations to contain dissent voices. And many are questioning whether it's going to be safe for any East African who speaks against the people that be or the powers that be. Because now, if you speak in Kenya, you can be arrested, as we saw, you can be abducted, as we saw with Kizza Besigye. If you go to Uganda, just like Nicholas and Bob were arrested, you can face the same in Uganda. If you go to Tanzania, you can face the same. Earlier this year, we had Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi and his Ugandan counterpart, Agatha Atuhaire, who were detained in Tanzania, again held incommunicado for days before being abandoned at their respective national borders after days of torture, and their confessions were actually so heartbreaking. So there seems to be an unholy trinity across East Africa among the presidents, that for anyone who has dissent voice, you end up being arrested, end up in jail, tortured, and all the bad things happen to you simply because the people in authority are not happy. So to President Museveni, President William Ruto, President Samia Suluhu, it's a question of why is dissent so bad for you that you have to torture people or just see them being tortured because they are expressing themselves and you're not happy with it? I think there's a better way of dealing with dissent, and this is not one of them. So moving forward, as a citizen of East Africa, I suppose we need to be more careful. However, we should not be cowed by such leadership, because if you've not gone against the law, nothing wrong this should not be things that worry you if you don't go against the law. But if you break the law, then justice takes its course. So that's up to citizens to keep fighting, keep alive, but ensure that human rights are respected across, because that's the least you can do. I think for this president, it's a thing of wait and see what happens. But as it is, you can tell these choreographed means that they're running, and how long is it going to work? It's a matter of time. And this is not where you keep humans in fridges unless they are dead. So long as I'm alive and breathing, I don't think I deserve to be in a fridge. That's the story of Uganda and what is happening. We'll keep watching, keep it here. Catch you on the next episode. The world is fast-paced and sometimes you miss the action. What perspectives do you have? What is the truth? Is the world at war? Join me, Sarah Mwangi, as we make sense of the information overload.